Good morning, my friends. I'm going to say welcome back to you, but also welcome back to me. Got home yesterday, late yesterday afternoon. So this is my first day back at the crafting desk. I've had a break for 4 days? It feels like forever. I didn't manage, as you would have noticed, to get videos done to cover the entire time I was away. So there's been a little bit of a gap. And I am super tired. And also we are under a warning for gale force winds again. So if it gets really noisy in the background, it's the wind and there's nothing I can do. It seems to be fairly calm at the moment. It was very, very windy this morning. Seems to have just toned down a bit, but it's supposed to be like all day. So we'll just have to deal with it. Now, because I've had little time to prepare for today's video, and I just want to bring you a video, we're just going to have a chat, going to go over a few things, have a little play. So just spend some time with me, hang out, do a bit of crafting along, and let's just see where we get to. So first off, I arrived home to a lovely piece of happy mail, which was really, really lovely. This is from Candice at Journal Me Crazy. She's one of my fellow design team members for the Junk Journal studio, and what a sweetheart. She was going to send each one of us in the design team a little envelope of happy mail, and so mine arrived, and just this super pretty envelope that she stamped and sprayed and decorated up, and the label was decorated as well, but I've covered it over because it has my address on it, and some really cute things inside. So I'm just going to show them briefly, keeping her address of course hidden on the reverse side of the envelope. Just these really fun note papers and stationery papers, so pretty, because Candice is in the US, I'm in New Zealand, and we just don't have the same stuff. You know, New Zealand doesn't have as many options, so these are things I've never seen before, and they're just really pretty. Really pretty. This grateful little list paper and thankful. Thank you so much, Candice, if you watch this. Just really appreciate all these beautiful bits of paper. They're just wonderful. And might have to go into Hoardyville for just a bit, you know. Just so pretty. And such a selection, like a huge selection. So I'm not going to sort of like labour over each one because, you know, we'd be here for a while. But just to give you a little look, all sort of autumn themed. There's mushrooms and sunflowers and pumpkins and beautiful colours. And then she made this little folio, which I'm guessing scrapbook paper by the look of it. It's got splatters and paint and collage and just really, really pretty. And inside there's it's slipped out. There's little cute bits of ephemera tucked in here and there. A little baggie of die cuts hidden away in that one. It's just got a bit of washi on so it doesn't slide around, so I'm not going to pull it off just yet. It's stenciled in the middle. It's got another double pocket down this side with more little bits of ephemera. Really cute piece of fern there. And then a couple more bits of paper, which is super pretty. So I think that's lovely. Getting something handmade isn't that the best for us crafters? Just getting something that you know has taken somebody time and effort and materials and thought and creativity, and it's personal. You know, it really is personal. So that was just really, really lovely. Thank you so much, Candice. I love everything you sent. I'm very, very grateful. I appreciate it a whole bunch. So that is the happy mail that I came home to. So on the way home, well, before we left the town that we're in, I wanted to go to the secondhand shop. The one that I had wanted to go to, we couldn't find, so it's probably closed down. But we went to a St. Vincent's de Paul. Had a look around there. Nothing really grabbed me. Mostly clothing and what was in the sort of the other goods area. There was a pack of cards. It was like, oh, it's modern, it's generic. No, not going to spend money on that. Nothing really grabbed me. So then when we stopped in another little town for lunch, I went to look for the second-hand shop again, but it was closed. So I just walked down the street a little bit and found a second-hand bookshop. And you know, like second-hand bookshop, you've got me. Yep, you've got me totally. So I walked in there. I really wanted a couple of novels that I'm missing in series, but there were just so many books. I found it very hard. So what I did find was multiple boxes, banana boxes, full of free books. But we were already full to the gunnels in the car because it was my husband and I. There goes the wind. Sorry about that. Full to the gunnels with our luggage and my mum's and stepfather's luggage. We had no room. So I was restrained, very restrained. I got 4 free books. So this book, it's from it's got a little bit of worm eating. 1950 or 1960, 1966. It's just the paper is really old and yellowed and stained, and like I said, it's got a bit of worm damage in there, which, you know, it doesn't bother me at all. Just look at how discoloured that front page is. It's just super wonderful, and it's a thesaurus, so you know, it's lists of words, which I love. So I got that one. That was free. These are all free, by the way. And then I found a box of foreign language books. Woohoo! Like, awesome. I would have loved the whole box, but my husband was like, you know, we're already full. And I was like, they can go on my lap, but I wouldn't have fitted the whole box on my lap. That would have just been really heavy and cumbersome and uncomfortable and horrible. So I grabbed 3 out of the foreign language box. So let's have a wee look at them. This one is a Spanish recipe book, and it's old, like you can see the cover, but I just love the graphics on this rather ratty-tatty, and look at that staining and everything. The graphics just on the dust jacket are awesome. It's from the 60s as well, I believe. Let's just have a wee look at the date. I think I found a date in this one. The paper is slightly shiny, but that's okay. 1956. So, you know, it's getting on there in age. It's all in Spanish. There's no English at all. And it's full of ads and fun graphics, and just like the foreign language, like I grabbed it for the foreign language, but it's got awesome illustrations as well. Just love it. And it's got that old book smell, you know, this musty sort of aroma that old books have. Interesting. There's a nude lady there in silhouette, but still a little detail showing. Quite risque, I would have thought, for the 1950s. But just these, yeah, wonderful graphics. You know, obviously been used. It's been splattered with cooking stuff. Just awesome. Love it. This is the first illustration I saw, and I thought that was really lovely. A spaghetti ad by the looks of it. Macaron spaghetti videos. I don't know. I have learned a little bit of Spanish, but not enough to cope with that. So that was awesome, and that was probably my favourite find, was that cooking book. This one is very modern, and you might recognise it because I've got the series of books. I love the series of books, but this is the book in Spanish. So it's very new, it's very modern. It wouldn't have been that cheap to buy, you know, it would have been $20, $30 here in New Zealand if it was bought in New Zealand. But, you know, all in Spanish. And the paper's quite a nice creamy, it's thin, but it's creamy colour and sort of quite textured. And so I was like, yeah, I've got to have that because it's not even white, it's actually cream coloured. So I grabbed that one, too good to pass up. And I'm going to do some things with pages out of this today in this video. And then the last book I picked up is this huge monstrosity. I call it a monstrosity, but it's beautiful. Hardcover book. Again, I don't know what it says. I'm guessing it's Spanish. I think it's Spanish. Pretty sure it's Spanish. It's very modern. I don't think, maybe 2017. But it's got beautiful thick pages, again in cream. And on every page it has these beautiful, hopefully you can see, beautiful borders. Same at the top, same at the down the side, those two borders, and that same logo in the top corner of deer skull with a signature. Yeah, pretty sure it's all in Spanish. And it's got lots of photographs and things which don't particularly grab me. But then it's got these pages, title pages with decorative border. And this lovely font. But it's also got like old letters and documents. Replicas of course. It's got some lovely fonts. To me it looks like it might be a memoriam for somebody or for a property or something. It's got lots of signatures and dates and things. And just, oh, that's lovely. That's a statue. I haven't had a proper look through it, but I flicked through it in the shop and it was like, yeah, I think this is worth grabbing, even if it's just for these decorative borders. But the paper is beautiful. It's very smooth, but it's not shiny. It's probably what I would call satin finish. These photos, probably most of them will just, I'll collage on or something, because I can't see an immediate use for them. But there's some old photos. Pity there's a yellow circle around his head. It's a bit of a shame. Oh, there's even like a dark, almost black page there. It's kind of not quite black. But bits of handwriting. It's just a stunning book. Like, and this would have been very expensive to produce. Oh, there's a dog. Could fussy cut him out. Just lovely. I couldn't pass it up. I thought it's just too beautiful to leave there for free. And I don't know what I'll do with the cover. It might make it like a really nice big art journal or something once I've used the pages out of it. So after that, I wanted to buy something from that shop because I didn't want to feel like I was just taking the free books and, you know, disappearing. So the shop was in two halves, so the books were all in one half, and then you had to go out the door in the next door to where you pay for if you do buy a book, and they've got other bits and pieces. And so we found the animals section, and my husband really loved this wolf. Little wolf figurine. It's howling. It looks like he's almost laughing. And he liked that one. It was only $9, so I bought that for my husband. I've grabbed these out of the china cabinet, because in our china cabinet there's 3 levels inside the doors, and the top shelf is all my horses because I collect horse figurines. So I bought myself a horse. I just really like this one. So this one cost twice as much because it's like twice the size of the wolf that my husband liked, but I really liked this horse, and I hadn't bought myself a horse for so long. Probably a good 10 years even that I last bought a horse, and I've got all sorts of horses from a good quality plastic, sort of this style, through to glass and wood and brass and pewter and, you know, all sorts of horses. But I really like this one, so I bought that one for myself. Yeah, really lovely. And that's pretty much the shopping I got done, was just on the way home. That's all we did, apart from, you know, buying food and bits and pieces while we were away for the funeral. So in case you weren't aware, I was away for a funeral. That's why I'd kind of disappeared off here for a few days. So home now. So let's go ahead and just take some of these pages. I don't know how much we're going to get done, but I thought I'll just, you know, catch up, sort of settle myself back in. Home today, and then I'm out all day tomorrow, so I've actually got a lot to do. I've got 3 videos to record today, hopefully. Let's see how we go. So I can't do too much mucking around in between or anything, and I didn't want to spend too much time thinking about what I was going to do. So, oh, come on. Come on. So, probably not going to get any more than 2 done, so let's just leave it at that, shall we? Just grab 2 pages. I'm going to take a quick sip of my coffee. Coffee. And I'm going to do some of these. I did these a while back, earlier this year. I saw Gail Agostinelli do it over on her channel. And I did up some, after I'd watched her, I did it on video. So there's a video out there of me doing these ones. But I've got this piece and maybe one other done out of everything that I did that day. And so I thought, okay, let's do some more. Because it's a, you know, it's a nice activity. It's relaxing. I don't need to think too much. And if you haven't seen it before, well, great. If you have seen it, well, I hope you just enjoy hanging out with me. Because I've missed you guys. I was so tired while I was away. I couldn't even plan videos or anything. I was just... Our bed was like sleeping on concrete. And I did not sleep at all well. Like, hardly slept at all, really. I was in so much pain. I couldn't sleep. And oh, it was just awful. Lovely unit that we were in, but the bed was relatively new. And they try and go middle of the road with the, you know, whether it's hard or soft. But in my world, that was like akin to concrete. It was really, really hard. Very hard. And I talked to the lady at the counter about, you know, getting toppers or something. And she's like, yeah, she really wants to get them. But the new owner only took over in May and they're slowly refurbishing them. So she said, you know, they can't do everything at once. So the toppers are down the track a bit. And I was like, yeah, that's okay. I understand. It's a great idea. I do recommend them. Like even cruise ships have toppers. They're not on the bed. You have to request them, but they're there, you know, because when we were on our cruise, the bed was super hard. And husband mentioned it to the cabin crew and they brought us a topper and it was, you know, it wasn't perfect, but it was so much better. So I've just put out some white acrylic paint and I'm adding a wee bit of water because I don't want it super thick. Might need a bit more water than that, but so yeah, so I did not sleep well. And then of course there's all the emotion of the event and all the meeting up with family and talking, and the funeral day itself was a big day. Funeral was at 1:30 and then there was the wake afterwards, and then dinner was at 6:30. And there was 46 of us that stayed on for dinner. And the place we were at weren't actually normally open on that day. So they opened up specially. It's where we had the wake as well. And there were about at least 200 people at the wake, you know, and they catered for afternoon tea and all the alcohol and cuppas and things. So it was worth them opening for us, but they weren't prepared, you know, to be open and catering a full meal for 46 people. So they did really well, but it did take time to get through everybody and everybody get their meals. And like my section of the table had finished their meal before some other parts had even received theirs, because it was just, they were really slammed, but they handled it. I must say, the staff did excellent job. Like they had their system, they worked methodically, they did so well. But it was just that, you know, they had 4 staff on to cover 46 people and get meals out in order and to the right people, and, you know, so all that to say, it was a big day. So by the time we got back to our motel, we were, you know, we needed a cuppa, we needed just to unwind, and on top of not sleeping. And then I had probably that night my worst sleep of all. because we were coming home the next day. So yesterday we came home. I'm just so tired and sore. I've got a sore neck. I've got, you know, sore hips, sore legs. My legs are swollen with all the travel and stuff. So I hopped on the scales this morning. I shouldn't have, because I knew my legs were way up. And so a lot of, you know, it's a couple of extra kilos there, but it's fluid, and I know it's fluid. So I don't know why I hopped on the scale. I guess just habit. But it was quite funny, you know, funny, take that the right way, at the funeral. Because a lot of the family members, I hadn't seen some of them for decades. Like my cousins, the children of my aunt who passed away. So my cousins, one of them lives in England. And so I haven't seen him probably since his wedding. And he got married the year after my husband and I did. So we're coming up 25 years, so probably 23 years since I've seen him. So that was wonderful. But there were others, and a lot of them were like, where's the rest of you? Because I've lost, in the last 18 months, I've lost a third of my size. So they're quite surprised when they see me that how much smaller I am now. And so I had lots of comments like, where's the rest of you? Or, you know, what have you done with yourself? Or where's Belinda? Or so that was quite fun, you know. It's nice when you get like things like that, and it's kind of like makes you feel warm and fuzzy, and like, oh, people have noticed that, you know, that I've changed, and, you know, complimentary and supportive and encouraging, and, you know, not saying dumb things like, oh, you've lost too much weight, or sometimes people can say well-meaning but inadvisable things when you've lost a lot of weight. But yeah, so that was a really nice aspect for me, was just one of my uncles who lives in the North Island. I haven't seen him since the last funeral, about 5 years ago, I think it was, the last funeral, family funeral. He made a beeline for me and gave me a big hug, and it was like, there's only half of you. Well, it's not quite half, it's more like a third that's gone, but, you know, I'll take that. And he'd pointed out to his wife, lovely wife, she's so lovely, she's Samoan, and she always makes a beeline for me too. He'd pointed me out to her, and she's like, no, can't be. And so she was really sweet as well. But yes, it was nice to catch up with family members I haven't seen in a while. It's always a good part of, you know, of a sad event, is seeing these people. The downside, apart from, you know, the grief and the loss, is that you never have enough time to actually properly connect with those family members. You know, it's a brief hello, brief catch up, and then you've kind of got to go on to the next. Because, my friends, my mum comes from a very big family. She was one of 12 in her family, so I did once upon a time have 11 aunts and uncles just on my mum's side. So hopefully you just don't mind watching what I'm doing as I chat, because I'm not really explaining. There's only 5 left now, which is really, really sad that the family is shrinking. So the aunt that passed away last week is my mum's sister-in-law, so it's not one of my mum's siblings, but, you know, she's my auntie and been in the family for many, many a year. But with that number of siblings in mum's family, and then the other branches of that family, it's a very, very large family. So there were a lot of people, and they weren't all there. So my Samoan auntie, her 2 girls had been there the night before the funeral, but they flew out the morning of the funeral, so I didn't actually get to see them, which I was sorry I didn't get to see them, because I like catching up with them. They're lovely, beautiful girls, really beautiful, because they've got, you know, half Kiwi skin, half Samoan skin, so they're really, really attractive. But they're also very sweet girls. And I've got fond memories of, you know, when we were all little, spending time together and stuff. So there were some people I just didn't get to catch up with, but I did meet another. Now I've got to get this connection right. It's very confusing. She's younger than me. Her name's Verity. She's super pretty. Like, she is stunning. But her mother, yes, her mother, who's passed away quite a number of years ago, was my mum's cousin. So Verity is, I'm not quite sure of the, like, second cousin, third cousin. No, because she would be mum's second cousin, I think. So is she my third cousin? I don't know. It gets so jolly complicated. If any of you are into genealogy and know how to describe that kind of relationship, let me know, because I don't quite know how to describe how we're connected, but we are connected. And I'd seen her, but never met her, so to speak. And so she happened to sit down beside me at one point to talk to somebody else, and then they sort of ended their conversation, and she was still sitting there. And so I bolstered up my courage, because I'm totally the introvert, and was, you know, and I was already really tired because it was after dinner by this stage on the day of the funeral. And I turned around to her and I says, I feel like I should know you. And then so she grabbed out some family photos that were doing the rounds, and we happened to actually be at the same family reunion back in 1994 or 5, something like that. I can't quite remember what year it was. We actually happened to be even in one of the same photos, but there were so many people that, and she stuck with her side that she knew, and I stuck with my side that I knew. But yeah, so we kind of worked out how we were connected, and, you know, learned each other's names, because I didn't know her name, she didn't know mine, she didn't know how I fitted in. So that was quite lovely. And she lives in the closest city to me, so the potential of seeing her again is actually, you know, reasonably high. Now I've got way more paint there than what I'm actually going to be using, so that's okay. Just going to give my brush a little clean off here. I did actually think to grab out some water this time. So often I grab paint, do something, and it's like, oh, hope my brush doesn't stick together while I finish up the video. There we go. Just going to have another wee sip of coffee. Because these need time to dry, of course, before I can do the next stage. So this one's the one I just did that will not be dry. This is not quite dry. I'll give it a wee flap in the breeze. If I took it outside, it would probably be dry in 2 seconds because of that wind. But if I let go of it, I would never see it again. Right. I'm just going to go with it. I'm not going to bother. Now, it's thin paper, so it's definitely buckling with the water, and I'm now going to use watercolours on top of that paint. So that's all right. I can always iron it or just flatten it under a book or something. Oh, that wind is going to try my patience today. I am short on patience with being so tired. Right, so grab out my watercolours. And a water brush, I think. Do I want my water brush, or do I want this brush maybe? Let's try this brush and see how we get on. What colour? Let's go greens. They are closest to me. Give them a good spritz. And now I'm going to add colour and working it in towards the middle and leaving some white in the middle. That is the plan, but often I end up with not a lot of white left in the middle, but as long as it kind of graduates and paler in the middle, even if it's not white. So I've just done random sort of rectangles. My paintbrush is losing the blue coating, so I keep getting crumbs of it on my paper. So white base, so you can use gesso. I tend to use acrylic paint. Maybe add a darker green around the edge. And then you stamp on top of it, and then you've got little pieces to decorate ephemera with. That's what I'm doing, because I haven't explained it at all, and that's okay. So I do have to tell you though, the funniest story. It's the highlight of the whole trip for most of the family. It's just hilarious, and people were cackling late into the night over this, and there's going to be so much mileage on this particular story throughout the family. It's going to go on for a long time. It's going to be brought up in multiple ways. So I've got an uncle, so it's mum's brother-in-law, and my aunt, his wife, passed away, or at least 10 years ago. So my uncle, he lives in the next town over where my husband works. The name of the town's Rangiora, so it's easier for me to refer to it as Rangiora. And my cousins, two of the girls, one is living in Australia, but the other two girls are also in Rangiora, and their children and such like. And so they came over on the morning of the funeral, 3 carloads of them, and they travelled all in convoy. And my uncle is deaf. He wears hearing aids, but still still can't hear very well. And he's also legally blind. And he's 87. I believe he's 87 now. So we're well since his 80th birthday. And so they stopped in at one of the little, it's not even a town, it's like there's a service station there. And there used to be a cafe, but that's closed down. They stopped in for a toilet stop, as you do. And there was, I think, 11 of them between the 3 cars. And they, they all had their toilet stop, and they had one, I think he's 18 months old with them. Great-grandchild for my uncle. So they stopped in, and then they all got back in their cars and carried down the road. And my cousin, the youngest daughter in that family, went to say something to her dad, and he wasn't in the car. They had actually left him behind at the service station, at the toilets. So fortunately they hadn't gone super far. They'd only gone like a couple of k's down the road. They had to turn around and go back and pick him up. So the next time they stopped for a toilet stop, he refused to get out of the car. He was not getting out of the car in case he got left behind again. And they could all see the funniest side of it. Even my uncle, he wasn't terribly upset, but, well, it didn't seem to be. But it's just become the story of the family. So there were lots of jokes flying around, we happened to see them on the way home. We'd called in at the same place for a pit stop, and they were in the park just having a break, and so I went and said to them, says, because they arrived before we did, I says, when we leave, I'm going to check and make sure there's nobody left sitting in the park. And all sorts of things, and how my cousin would be written out of the will now because she left her dad behind, and just lots of just funny jokes and things going around. She's not going to live it down for a long time. And I can just imagine it, when my uncle does pass away, that it's probably going to be one of those stories that comes out at the funeral. You know how you bring out those funny little anecdotes at funerals? Yeah, I just think it's going to go on for a while. So that's the funny story that came out of the whole trip. And my uncle, who just lost his wife, lost my aunt, he thought it was the best. It just brought him so much laughter and smiles on a very sad day for him, that I think, you know, it was almost by design, that there was something to go forward that was really funny and fun, and, you know, there was no harm done at the end of the day. But, you know, so it doesn't have to be all sad memories. And of course he had lots of positive memories, and they had the photo slideshow of my aunt, and my uncle, of course, featured a lot in that. And there were funny stories about their marriage and things. And the priest, it was a Catholic funeral, and the priest who took the service was actually my auntie's cousin. So that would have been quite tough for him, I would imagine. But he told his own personal story through the service of how when he'd seen my auntie not long after she'd gotten married to my uncle, and he'd called her by her maiden name, and she told him off and told him, "I am married now. You call me by Mary Wallace," was her name, her married name. And so he, you know, never made that same mistake again by calling her by the wrong name. You know, funny family stories. It was good. But, you know, it's good to have those funny bits to help ease the loss. So, yes. So it was a big trip away. And it's 3.5 hours if you just get in the car and go. But we did lots of stops because my husband did the majority of the driving, and he needed to stretch his legs. And my stepfather has back issues and leg issues, and he needed to stretch his legs. And then there's toilet breaks and meal breaks and stuff. So both going there and coming back, it was basically an all-day thing for us. You know, it was quite a big day. I seem to be not leaving a lot of white in the middle. It's okay, I'm going to add a bit of red to this one. So yeah, so that's basically the highlights, I guess, the highlights and the lowlights of our trip away. There was a couple of things with our motel unit. They were in between cleaners. So we booked a unit for 4 people, and there were only 3 forks. So we had to go and ask, which wasn't a problem. You know, had to ask for an extra fork, and that was fine. She was quite happy. And then we came to pack up, and I realised that the cleaner who had just started that day had cleared away my tea towel that I'd taken over to stop. We take our own pot, so I put it between the lid and the pot to stop it, you know, rattling and scratching and stuff. And she'd cleared it up when she did the linen change in the unit. She'd cleared our tea towel, so I had to ring the office and say, got our tea towel. So, and she happened to be doing the laundry at the time, so she had recognised it wasn't their one. Got me to describe it, and yep, so she brought that straight out to me, and it was all good. She was very lovely, actually, the manager of the motel. So there were a few funny little bits like that happened. I'm just not happy with the colour on this one. It's just a bit insipid. As it dries, it's not giving me a lot of colour, so I'm just going to add a bit more. So you can, you know, do as much or as little colour, whatever colours you like on these. Mix up the colours. Quite often I might do like a, not an ombre effect, but a gradient of different colours. Maybe I'll do one of that now. So maybe we'll start with this pink, because I haven't used this one, and see if, it's hard to get it right though, because you're working on such a small space to actually get that to work. Can be a little tricky, but so starting with one colour in one corner, and then what colour do I want to put with it? Maybe we'll go yellow. Need a bit more water on my brush, I think. Maybe we'll go this yellow. Then do your other colour in the other corner, or vertically or horizontal, whichever way. I ended up with a lot of colour on that, and then kind of blend them together a little bit. Of course, watercolours always dry lighter as well. You can do this with acrylic paint. In fact, Gail used acrylic paint, but when I first did them, I didn't have the acrylic paints out, so I thought I'd try watercolours and found the watercolours work. So when I was thought about doing this for today's video, I was like, I'll just do watercolours again because I've got them right behind me, so easy. And the white paint lives on my desk for some reason. It seems to live on my desk. Got bubbles. Bubbles in there. Why have I got lots of bubbles? I guess they'll go. And I didn't end up with much of that pink left, so let's just add a bit more in there. Not sure whether it's coming from my water or my brush or the paint or where it's coming from, but never mind. See, this is going to end up fun too, this little brush off sheet. So that is where I'm up to right now. I'm just going to have another drink of my coffee. Maybe I'll finish up this sheet, this page, and then I'll call this a video. And I'm actually starting to feel quite cold. It's a warm day. I'm not sure why I'm feeling cold. Maybe because there's a lot of cloud cover, so it's not actually sunny out there. It's quite a dull day. Just using my finger to pat out some of that centre so it's a bit lighter. I mean, if you don't end up with white in the middle, it's no big deal. Especially using watercolour, because it dries paler, you're still going to see your stamping, even if it's, you know, a little bit darker. Let's do some purple and blue maybe. I'm not even rinsing off my brush in between these, it just kind of all merges together. Normally I am good about rinsing my brush off because I don't want to contaminate colours, but figured it's only a matter of a few more uses and the colour will work itself out. Almost want to get in there with a sponge. Here's a clean sponge. I think maybe I did use a sponge when I did these the first time and forgot. I think I did. I forgot that I'd actually used a sponge. And then you get that softer sort of effect than with a brush. Add a bit more. And you cut these out once you've finished stamping them and they're all dry and everything. You cut them out so you can go over the edges because you just trim it off. Sometimes I try and stick within the lines just a little bit too much, where it would be better if I actually went out and then just trim. Okay, let's add a bit of blue. Do a blue one. Oh, that's a beautiful blue, isn't it? Actually, I'm sure I've got a sponge in my drawer that I used for this last time. But anyway, that's okay. Let's use this one. My friend picked me up a whole pack of these wedge ones for really cheap that were on clearance. So gradually get my way through them though. They don't last forever. Yeah, that's nice. I like that one. The sponge definitely works better for getting that white in the middle rather than a brush. I think I do want to do actually maybe some white. Maybe just to get a bit of a lighter blue happening in the middle. I haven't got like a light blue in my paints. So if you're not familiar with these wee wedge sponges, they're just a makeup sponge. No bubbles. More bubbles. And a little bit of blue down. Right, so there is our page coloured up. Again, it really needs to dry before I can do the stamping. But I'm just going to rinse out my brush, pop these to the side, and this, and see. Oh, it's actually not too bad. Maybe by the time I choose out some stamps. Oh, this is actually going to be a longer video than I thought. Choose out some stamps that might be dry enough to actually stamp it on camera. Now, I don't know in particular what I need in terms of images or anything, so I'm just going to go with what I might like. And, you know, probably likely to use more. I know I've used the teddy bears before. They look really nice. Could use that one for a change. Or maybe a ticket or something. Bugs. Okay, let's go with that. It's probably enough to play with. I'm looking at this cactus and thinking that might be quite fun, but it's kind of matching the size of your rectangle with the size of your stamp. And it doesn't, oh, maybe it might fit one of those ones. You know, sometimes it doesn't quite match up the way you thought, oh, I wish I'd done this kind of this size. So, you know, you might want to consider what sort of stamps you're going to use or what size they are when you're making your rectangles. But I just like doing them randomly and then matching up according to whatever. Okay. So maybe on that lighter green one. Well, that's just giving it a moment there. I'll take another sip of my coffee. And the weather over for the funeral. It was such heavy rain. And so we were all wet and cold. Just getting from building to car type thing. You know, it was a bit damp around the edges, shall we say. And it was wet too the day we left. Well, it actually wasn't bad. It had cleared up a bit, but rain off and on. And then when we crossed over the Southern Alps back onto the East Coast, I live on the East Coast, we came back into the sunshine and the wind, but warmth, and that was really nice. Actually, I might put that on the blue one. Is it dry enough? Yep, I think it is. So I think that's a really nice fit. I'm just using my Versafine, Archival Versafine in black. It's the only colour I've got in it, but it's a little bird cage. I went through a phase where I put everything in these cases, but I'm not sure that I'm overly fond of that method. I didn't put a lot in them. Let's do a key. Because these ones are not your normal thickness, they're very thin, so some stamps actually don't fit in them very well. But I haven't bothered sort of taking them out or doing anything else. Let's put the key there. The other thing with doing that is that you then have no record if you, because I was doing them by theme, not necessarily by set or brand, is that then you don't know what the name of the set is or what the name of the brand is. And that was before I was doing YouTube, so, you know, I wasn't worried about keeping track of brands and things like that. Well, that didn't stamp overly well, but that's fine. It's still usable. It's every part's printed. It's just some are darker than the others. And that's okay. I don't mind. Right, what else do we want to put? Have we got room for one of my teddy bears? These are Kaisercraft. I love this set. It's called, I don't know if you can still get it. I've had it for years. It's called Teddy Bear's Picnic. But it is very cute. And it's got some really nice sentiments that I use a lot as well. But they're so cute. Beautiful detailed stamps. Stamped beautifully. You're going to go right there, my friend. So I hope you have all had a great week so far. My apologies, I have not even said that to you this video. It's all been about me, and that's terribly rude. Just chalk it down to tiredness, lack of sleep, and full of the events of the last 4 days. It's been a big 4 days. And it's going to take me a while to recover, and I've got a lunch to go to tomorrow, so that's why I'm out all day. The Cuzzy lunch, so, you know, the people that I normally see in the family every month, I'll see them, most of them, not all of them can make it. See them tomorrow. Will you fit? No, you won't. I might have to go the wee baby bear. Do this wee baby bear. And you fit nicely somewhere. You might be a bit small. You're a bit small. Okay, let's look for something else then. So yeah, and I need to do shopping because yesterday was our shopping day, but we got home at just before 5 p.m. and, you know, had to unload and unpack and settle back in, see the cats, who were very happy to see us. Oh, they're not going to work either. Okay. Striking out a bit here. And then we did need a couple of things, like we had to get them. So my hubby went down and grabbed a few bits that were essentials, but we've still got shopping to do. So tomorrow I'll be doing a bit of like meat shopping and things. I've taken it off, but you actually, yes, you're going to fit there. Yeah, so tomorrow I'm gonna add to my tiredness, I think. And the day after that, Saturday, is our local A&P show, and we haven't been for years, and we were hoping to go this year, but there's no way. It's one, my ankle's not good enough yet to be walking around all day, and it's been a big week. It's been a big enough week that, you know, we don't really need to be adding that, because that's tiring, because it's always typically a day when everybody gets sunburnt for the first time in the new warm season. So it's the heat, the wind, all that's going to be really tough. I think I might use the beetle on that green one. And then I might have to find some others to use on the remaining rectangles. I tend to use a stamp pad in the middle, and it runs out of ink, and then the edges are actually full of ink. So I need to practice using the edges of my stamp pad. Oops, and then I got ink all down the edge of the block. So yeah, so disappointingly, we won't be going to the A&P show this year. So next year, hopefully. We keep saying that every year. We say, oh, next year, because I haven't been for so long. And I used to go every year, and I even used to work in the pavilion, which is the big shed where all the like the wool and the flower arranging and the craft. I used to man the craft section, you know, receive everything and lay it out and label it and write out the prize tickets and all that, and enter as well. I used to enter. I even entered the show for longer than what I've stopped going. But I only stopped going because it physically became just too difficult. Right, I need more stamps. No, they're not that size. No, not the right size. Oh gosh, I might just have to... Oh, what about these? That one. It might just fit. I haven't actually used this one, the reel of cotton. And I feel like I want to use it, so we're going to make it fit. And if it doesn't, well, we'll just trim a little bit off. We can make it work, people. I feel like I've just talked at you this entire time, and I guess I have. You would think I'd had enough of talking, being away and talking with all these people. But I just want to catch you up, my friends, and, you know, relive some of the highlights from a sad event. Oops. Yeah, didn't stamp it particularly well. I probably should have test stamped it since I hadn't used that one, but I think that's okay. And I got it all in the colour. So I'm feeling pretty chuffed about that. Take the wins where you can. That one might be quite fun. I haven't used this one either. It's one of the like little card bobbins that you wind like embroidery thread around. So, you know, good chance to give these a whirl. I'm just going to stamp it again. I'm not going to test stamp it. I'm just, you know, let's live dangerously. What's the worst? That we just cut this bit out and throw it away. Or put it in collage. Yeah, like collage. Collage is so forgiving, isn't it? You can take your bits that didn't work quite so well and pop it in a collage, and suddenly it's just beautiful. Yep, no, that one's fine. So we've got 2 to do. Can we get something for those 2 before I say goodbye for this video? Before I say see you later. I don't think any of those are going to work. So back to the bin. Just really looking at size. Maybe that butterfly might be quite nice on that red one. I'm going to have to put all these away in their packets and hope I don't mix up the packets. I'm getting such a mess to my side where I'm just popping them in a pile. It's going to fall over on top of me any minute. All those slippery cellophane packagings. Some of these I've actually ended up blurring, and I think that's maybe because I haven't let them dry completely. But I think they're okay. I think they're usable still. And if I decide at the end of the day that they're not quite right, then I'll just pop them in a collage or something. And they'll become part of the background. Maybe that wee sprig there, that wee flower and leaves sideways, I think that'll work. Like that. So this is video 1 of 3 that I need to get done today. Anyone taking bets on whether I get them done or not? Or whether my energy just goes kaput? I will do my best. Oh, that's pretty. Actually, I really love how that one turned out. That is super pretty. Probably my favourite of the whole page. Maybe the teddy bear as well. Right, there we go. So I've just got this one, which I need to watercolour up and then do the same thing. But I think I've kept you long enough, my friends. Thank you so much for just listening to me rattle on and catching up with my life over the last few days. It's really good to be home. It's going to take me a little bit just to get over this tiredness and things. So, but I'll bounce back. Hopefully next week I'll kind of be back into rhythm and everything, and cracking on. So, I will leave you there. Take care, my friends. I will catch you again very, very soon. Bye for now.